Most people will look back at monster stocks like Apple and Amazon and say, wow, if only we would have captured those fantastic gains. It was so obvious back then. But you know what? It's never really obvious in real time. But there are common threads to all these stocks that go on to significant moves. And there's a group that's really gotten my attention. I think that could be big winners in 2024. We'll see what happens, which is really the buy now, pay later space. I actually tweeted a little bit about this not long ago on my Twitter feed. You can follow me at trader_mcaruso. Now, I think there's more to this story than most people realize. If you look at all of the stocks that had these tremendous advances, there's one key element that unites all of them. Like William O'Neill would say, they change the way we live, work, or play. If you can have a stock that will transform the way you live, work, and play, it's going to be a big winner, one way or another, typically. So looking at the buy now, pay later space, there's a lot that really intrigues me. So it's not entirely brand new. These did come to market. They IPO'd a couple of years ago, most of these. If you look at Affirm, if you look at Afterpay, it was acquired by Square, now parent company Block, a little while back, a year or two ago. But what's different now? Well, first off, if we take a look at the stock chart, these coming off of the most recent October lows have had staggering advances. Not only did they go up a lot, it's how they advanced. Take a look at Square. You have 9 weeks up in a row. Now again, Square owns Afterpay, which is one of the leaders in the buy now, pay later space. Even more powerful, take a look at the move on Affirm. Dramatic advance. Importantly, many weeks up in a row, that consistency of buying helps to unveil that there's institutions that absolutely want to buy this stock. And you can see that in how they're buying. Individual investors don't buy consistently week after week. There's no buying power to pull that off. That's solely the realm of institutional investors. So these did come to market a couple of years ago, and they had some large drops. Obviously, a couple of years ago, there was incredible market enthusiasm. Maybe things came out a little bit overpriced. But we can see now in this turn, in this price action, there's something going on where interest is being renewed. And it's not only in the price action. We're not only looking at stock prices here. If we take a look at the actual buy now, pay later space, there was a recent report out where we have record volumes going through this year in 2023. So we have more usage of buy now, pay later than ever before. Interestingly as well, if you take a look at Affirm, and we're going to be using Affirm today just as kind of like an overview of the group altogether. I mean, their stats are representative of a lot of what the other players are doing. But if you take a look at Affirm, from their 2020 fiscal year, their gross merchandise value, how much merchandise has moved through their network, is up 5x. I mean, that's staggering, and they're at record numbers. So that's staggering advances, and that shows that this is not a blip. This is not just an interesting idea that's gone away. Something, let's say, like the Peloton bike during COVID, everyone was fighting for the bikes that they would work out at home, or even Zoom. Maybe we thought we were going to do Zoom calls forever, and that's kind of cooled off a little bit. We're at record usage for buy now, pay later. Now, on the surface, it seems like a very kind of simple concept. You go to make a payment, and rather than pay out once, you can split it over several payments. Now, it sounds like a good idea for consumers. They say, hey, I don't have to buy it all at once. Rather than go on credit and pay interest, I have the choice of paying over different months. But there's much more to it than that. In fact, unlike a credit card, Affirm and all these, well, I'll speak to Affirm, but they all have similar processes. But Affirm is basically underwriting a loan specific to you every time you make a purchase. So when you're going to make, let's say, to buy a new television and you want to make this buy, Affirm has to judge as, hey, are you a good credit risk? Should we extend, how much credit should we extend to you, and under what terms? So there's actually quite a big level of complexity if this is done correctly. And now the current credit card issuers have not gone down the road of having that kind of complexity to underwrite all of these loans. So I think the players who are already there, who already have a head start, have a big advantage. And in the era of AI and all this kind of smart underwriting, data is key. Having all of this information gives them a big advantage that they can press upon. But we'll get to their advantages more later. However, taking a look at their process. Now, I like to look at what third-party people are saying. If you go just to the investor relations website of the company, you're always going to get kind of a biased answer. But Affirm recently had an investor day, an investor forum, where they had the CEO of Shopify at the investor forum, and they're very close partners. There was one thing that really caught my ear when listening to this investor forum presentation when the CEO of Shop was speaking, is that originally Shop was planning on going down the same road of building a competing product. And they equally thought it was simple on the surface when they first looked at it. But as they dug into it, they realized it was a very complex process. It was not easily done at scale with speed throughout the ecosystem. In fact, what really got me is that the shop CEO said it would have taken all of the engineers at Shopify, which is, I mean, Shopify is an enormous e-commerce company. I'd argue outside of Amazon, the biggest e-commerce company in the world. It would have taken all of their engineers to work on this project to be able to kind of replicate what Affirm has built. So they decided to, partner with Affirm, and they're also looking at other buy now, pay later vendors as well. But that complexity is a big moat. So not only is it complex, hard to reproduce, on top of that, the people who are already working at this, whether it's Affirm, whether it's Afterpay under Square, they also have a very large merchant network that's already working with their system. So that's not very easily replicated by new people wanting to come into this space. So they have a very strong head start in a burgeoning industry where there's record demand. Now, we always kind of think of it from the perspective of the buyer. We get to split our payments, and obviously, we hear that part of things. But for a product, my belief is for a product to do really well, it has to be a win-win for everyone. There's never really one kind of product that is going to help one side of the equation, but hurt the other side and still be very successful. Think of Groupon many years ago, where people could buy coupons as a group, and then after they would get these massive discounts. The people offering them maybe sounded good, then they realized they were just really cutting into their margins with all of this discounting, and ultimately the product failed. But taking a look at the buy now, pay later space, this has a lot of positive benefits to the merchants themselves. Take a look at this slide from Affirm. So if we take a look at this slide, you'll see that with flexible payments, they saw a 76% increase in transactions that otherwise probably wouldn't have taken place, a 60% lift in average order volume, and an increase in conversions with 28% fewer abandoned carts. Those are some dramatic numbers. But most importantly, not only does this help to kind of sell more merchandise, the ability to simply kind of, the customer who's on the fence, and that's a large part of these retailers is their business, is that customer on the fence. That's why they offer coupons and discounts, is to get that marginal buyer. Instead of having to discount, instead of slashing down your margins, if you can say, hey, look, we can offer you flexible payments. If, rather than taking 30% off the payment price, pay over 4 or 5 months and you get this product that you love. So for a lot of people who just don't have the credit or the cash or the ability to buy it now, but really want it, they're not even necessarily maybe seeking the discount. They're just seeking a way to afford it in the first place. This allows the buyer to be happy, and it also allows the merchants to maintain their margins. So this really benefits both, and that's really the win-win I'm talking about here. Now, with any kind of new technology, you're going to hear the negative side of things. Oh, it's going to increase credit. It's going to make people get into trouble, and so there's always going to be a negative spin. There's one thing when you come into investing, I think in life, is you need to always keep that positive attitude. It's positive people that win in life, in my opinion. Like again, Bill O'Neill would say, I never met a successful pessimist. But if you kind of look past that, and what really interests me with these buy now, pay later providers is if you look at the CEO of Affirm, Max Levchin, in 5 years, his goal is not to be the leader in the buy now, pay later space. His goal is to be the leader in payments. He wants to be the world's most valuable payment network and the leader in payments. And he plans on doing that by just offering a much better service than traditional credit cards, traditional networks. And if you look at what they've built, the ability to have these flexible payments, the ability which now they're trying to bring on kind of banking services as well to kind of match your income with payments, is providing people with a level of financial flexibility that they don't have anywhere else. And going beyond that, another interesting element that they want to kind of pursue is not only is there like $1 trillion of revolving credit, credit cards outstanding, there's also a similar sized market for small, medium-sized businesses. And there's all of these sole proprietors out there. This is a very underserved market. If you ever tried to start a small business and go get a loan, you'll see how incredibly difficult it is. It's they want all of your company statements, they want your personal statements. I mean, it's nothing like what it is for a more established institution. It's also nothing like what it is for an individual consumer, because they can see your income. As a business, you're almost automatically not trusted by the bank if you're looking for a loan or for your young company. So Affirm's looking to kind of work into this this area of the market as well. And so they have multiple growth streams ahead. Now, it's one thing to make a lot of promises. And company CEOs are great at making promises, and oftentimes they don't come true. But what interests me as well in the buy now, pay later space is the quality of management in this space. So Max Levchin, the head of Affirm, is the ex-chief technology officer of PayPal before it was sold to eBay. So this is not his first payments company. This is not his first rodeo. This is a very experienced, knowledgeable serial entrepreneur. And he's now 10 years into this company. He's very dedicated to building this out and being an extreme success. Having the right person at the helm is absolutely critical. And on top of that, the other person I'm watching very closely is with Block or Square, who owns Afterpay, is just a couple of months back, we had CEO Jack Dorsey come back to the company, take the helm to kind of right the ship. They're having some issues. And one of his key focuses is going to be integrating buy now, pay later within their merchant ecosystem with the Cash app and really bringing that flexibility of payments to everyone. So both of these companies, I mean, these two, I think this burgeoning field has these two great serial entrepreneurs leading these companies, leading the charge to kind of rework this business altogether. So I find it incredibly exciting to not only see price action, you know, you're seeing what investors suddenly realize, hey, maybe there's something going on to this. This is beyond IPO hype. We saw the amount of strength coming off of the October bottom, the consistency. You can see record volumes, record merchandise volumes going through the buy now, pay later network. You can look at all the upside, how it's a win-win for buyers and merchants. You look at the quality management. This is significant, in my opinion. And also similarly, especially with Square, with Jack Dorsey coming back to the company, these dramatic changes have a large impact. I mean, recently we spoke about, I put out a video here about how I thought Shopify could be the next Apple, just a few months back with Shopify, because they made a very important deal with Amazon where they would finally allow Amazon the fulfillment through their network for their merchants, and they would stop trying to do that distribution part of the network. I thought it was transformative. You can see the video at the end of this one if you'd like to see why I like Shopify. I still like Shopify. It's since had a dramatic advance. I think it's getting close to a double here in just a few months. It's been a big mover. But these moments in time where you see this dramatic change creates the opportunity, the fertile ground for a more significant advance, whether it's a big deal with a competitor, whether it's the coming back of an ex-CEO to right the ship, to lead the management. Putting a catalyst like that in a business that's already growing strongly is like putting gas on a fire. It really helps to accelerate things. So the buy now, pay later space, the more you kind of look into it, the more I can see it being transformative. They have come to payments from the ground up, not only facilitating the payment, but facilitating the risk control, the underwriting. This is going to provide these companies the ability to offer financial products and structures far beyond what people are used to right now. It's going to change the way we live, work, and play. And one interesting thing the CEO of Affirm, Max, was saying was that the younger generation is not scared to live within an app ecosystem, to get in there and to kind of, figure out their payments, figure out the most flexible structure that works for them. They're fine with working with that. It's not kind of the older generations where they just want to swipe it and forget it. So you have the right audience, you have the growth, building into that, that demographic is becoming a bigger and bigger part of purchases. So there's many tailwinds, I believe, into this group. I think we're early days. If you look again at the weekly chart of Affirm specifically, it may be setting up a high tight flag pattern. It's one of the patterns William O'Neill identified as a leading pattern of some very, very strong stocks. You can take a look here, for example, at QualComm in 1999, who did this wonderful high tight flag pattern that went on to a staggering advance, just to give you an idea of the chart pattern or how I'm interpreting it. But this goes beyond just the stock chart. The stock chart helps to identify the demand, supply, and balances, but really it comes down to also, I think, what is an incredible fundamental story that many people are not fully realizing the potential just yet. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe. The more we grow the channel, the more we can get some great content out here. You can follow me on X at trader_mcaruso. You can visit me on my website at carusoinsights.com, where I've been buying these stocks and talking about them and talking about my own portfolio. So you can learn a whole lot more there and the kind of moves I'm making. Beyond that, wish you happy trading. We'll be back soon with new videos. Thanks.